myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Geordies here, Geordies there, and joined by George, Mitch, the two Steves, and Al Walid, who is freshly shaven there, Al Walid. You're like a young lad again. And Stu Penman will be dipping in and out. He's in Riyadh this week, so he will be hopping on at some point during the night. But as always, an hour's chat about Newcastle United. Always plenty to talk about with that. And of course, Ask George. Halfway through the show, if you've got a question for George, you want to know something about Neil's childhood, get that question in. And we will endeavour to ask George at around about 6:30. But let's start, because the lads who do the show midweek don't often get a chance to talk about the results, etc. George, 4-1 at Fulham. Great result, and takes us into this weekend's game on a high.
Absolutely fantastic, and modesty forbids me to remind you that I did forecast 4-1 was the score.
Well, you did, yes, and we'll give you praise for it, rightly so.
I have to confess, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek. It was a bit optimistic, but after the way they played it, they were lucky it was only 4-1. I mean, they were just dominant. The big positive for me was it was very professional, and it was very, very proactive. They were on the front foot from the start. All right, they got down to 10 men. I don't think that would have mattered greatly. I think there was a good win, and would have been a good win anyway. And some of the performances were just incredible. I mean, the other pleasure I had is, of course, that I took part in the match day live on Saturday when most of the people on the screen were watching the match. Well, I wasn't watching the match. I was watching the people watching the match. However, that revealed a lot. I could tell who was playing well by the reaction of the other panelists who were watching it, because I could hear Botman's name coming out. I could hear Bruno. I could hear Almiron. I could hear Longstaff. And the lad who everybody without exception on the panel on Saturday when the team was out, when they said Murphy, their faces dropped. Well, he put in a performance. You could only say that. So it was a very, very professional performance for everybody concerned. My only slight criticism, was we gave them a goal, and that was the manager's fault in my opinion. To change all 4 defenders at the same time. And I think if you look at Botman's reaction towards the end, you'll see what he thought about it as well. I think that none of them were warmed up. None of them were into the game. And it was inevitable if the ball come to the right place, we would be lost. And they just tore it apart for that few minutes until the lads got their legs and got sorted about where they were. But other than that, fantastic Saturday. I mean, it's the sort of Saturday you dream of as a Newcastle fan, and I've been dreaming of for years coming back to the club and to the city. So yeah, professional and very well done by everybody concerned.
It was, yeah. Neil, we had an early, chance to reflect on the game, but it's one I've watched again. Didn't think I would be saying that 12 months ago, that I would be watching Newcastle games on a regular basis, no more than once. But yeah, great performance. And Sven Botman, I mean, for me, again, just is starting to grow in stature game by game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rolls Royce of a defender. It really does just look classy. His distribution's easy. Never looks flustered. Positioning's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, he's got a hell of a signing, and I think Howe's going to pick and choose when he uses him. I think he's going to take him out sometimes against some teams, and that's the manager's prerogative as he gets used to the Premier League, because it is a big jump up from France. There's no doubt about that. But he just looked pure quality, and the header that set up Longstaff's goal was a hell of a save from the keeper, to be fair. Fingertips onto the post. And then we were quick enough to follow it up. And like I said on Sunday, the amount of times I've seen us go, seen an opposition team go down to 10 men and we dropped to their level. And on Saturday, we certainly did the opposite. We just put them to the sword. And that was, for me, that was the best aspect of it. We just didn't give any quarter and made sure the 3 points in the first half. And yeah, we took our foot off the gas towards the end with all the substitutions and things. But I guess, again, there was no need to force the issue. We're still carrying a few knocks. We're still carrying a few legs. More than I think from the team that was put out on Saturday. So even more pleasing to get the result in the way we did.
Yeah, Steve, it was a great performance by Newcastle. And it was against 10 men. I've heard a few people say that had an effect on the game. Of course it does. But sometimes having 10 men against you has the opposite effect and you find it hard to break the team down. But yeah, Newcastle did the job that they were asked to do and did it well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I tell you what, mate, how ridiculous is it playing Almiron on the right? Absolutely crazy decision to play Almiron on the right.
Is there a hint of sarcasm there, Steve?
Haven't I? I tell you what, no. I mean, you've got to single out Almiron for what an absolute gem of a goal, and then for the tapping at the end. But I also have to praise, and you guys are praising the defence and you're praising in particular Botman and pointing him out. But Dan Burn, a centre half who's shuffled to the left-hand side and looks as though he's played in the left-hand side all his life as well. I know he's left-footed and that, it's fair enough. But, I thought that he was absolutely brilliant on Saturday. And even when the winger was getting past him, those long legs just appear and they just slide in and knock the ball out again. But you've got to say, right across the park, every player did his job. 4-0. As George rightly said, could have been 6, could have been 7. We wouldn't have been sitting back going, you know what, we didn't actually deserve that. We would have deserved it. I don't think we need to even dwell on the sending off, unless we want to talk about what a ridiculous tackle it was. But in terms of the way Newcastle played, I think they would have played equally as well against 11 men as they did against 10. I don't think they showed anything. And I think Mitrovic, for all we've been shouting about him, or people have been shouting about him, what that looked like was a player who had been brought back too early and now is worried about whether he's going to get an opportunity and whether he's going to be fit in a couple of weeks' time to get himself on that plane to Qatar. That's the sort of conundrum that their manager's thrown themselves into. But you know what? Couldn't care less. Yes, I'd like to see Mitrovic in the World Cup because it's going to be interesting to watch him. But this is Newcastle United. That's all I'm interested in. 3 points, an away win, and we did need a win. We did need to get a win after all the draws we had. So what a great weekend it was.
Yeah, good performance, Al Walid. You were on Match Day live with us as well. What was your take on that game?
I always love those games. We guarantee the result early, very early. This is we had the chance to enjoy even the players, the staff, and they play so relaxing, and they show and their skills because they feel they control the game. Away game, you can't beat away game winning because this is really show your personality as a team. I really enjoy it, and I wish if I saw this quite often coming days.
Steve Wilkinson, what was your views on the game? Good performance.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most relaxing games I've seen, and as Alwyn just said, to be able to have the game won virtually in 20-25 minutes after the second goal went in, and then it was just after that just onslaught. Something very Manchester City-esque, if that's a phrase you can use about the goals. Tap-ins from inside the 6-yard box, which is. We've often been critical of the team for not getting into that sort of area, and 3 of them were knock-ins really from that sort of distance. Sean Longstaff, particularly, there was a shot and he comes bounding in and bangs it in from the edge of the 6-yard box, and then of course we'll have to talk about Miggy's goal. I couldn't believe that he'd done it with his left foot. It was a natural shot, it was a difficult shot to do with his right foot. The ball coming over his shoulder. in the way he was running. But then when you saw the replay to see that he's actually hit it with his left foot, that was fantastic. So I'm just disappointed. I mean, to me, it was a 6-1 win because those goals weren't really offside, and that was a Miggy hat trick and a good quality finish from Fraser as well. So sets us up perfectly for on Saturday, and hopefully then a similar performance into Man U next week, because that's the game. I'm sure all of us are in the same fate. You just love it when we could beat them and down in Old Trafford, or certainly get something out of it. So fantastic, and nicely positioned in the league at 7th, which is at the beginning of the season where I predicted or hoped that we would finish. So just maintain that position, and let's get into the conference. And if we can improve even more than the Europa League.
Yeah, Stu, we spoke about it on Sunday, but I've watched it again. It was that enjoyable. Newcastle versus Fulham, great result, and sets us up nicely for the weekend.
Sure does. And if they can replicate that on Saturday, I think they'll go to Old Trafford full of confidence and more than capable of getting a result. And I can't see why not. The reason I'm in Riyadh is for the next Friday is Mitch's birthday, and he's coming to Bahrain, and I thought I better come across and make some money for it. So this is why I'm over here. I've had to try and make as much as I can, because it's going to be quite a heavy weekend, shall we say. So next Friday's Amigos will be quite humorous, I would imagine.
Yeah, certainly will be. Your internet's a little bit dodgy, Stu, but we'll go with it, mate. So don't worry about it. Right. It's obviously you're in a different country, but we'll keep you posted.
I'll try and switch phones, see if it helps. I'll come back on.
All right,
I think another aspect of the game, Steve, that we talked about on Friday night was we said we're looking for goals from midfield, and I think that was a big plus. Actually seeing that actually perform, getting goals from midfield, I think that's especially with Wilson coming back as well. I think that's a big sign for us as well.
Miggy's goal, I don't think enough's been made about how it was constructed. And I've watched it again, Steve, particularly because I like that goal. Miggy gets the ball, he gives it to Bruno, and then he shows with his body where he's going to go, and Bruno responds without stopping the ball. He just flicks it over the top of the defenders, right in front of Miggy. I mean, if that had been one of the Liverpool strikers or one of the Arsenal strikers or one of the Chelsea strikers, it would have been on Sky News opening billboard for the next 2 seasons. You know, you couldn't have got away with it, because it's little old Newcastle. It's commented upon, but that's all. But the construction of it, the football in it to make the goal is to be absolutely applauded.
Yeah,
I think
definitely was.
Can I also say it's worth pointing out as well, commenting on the depression that was around at 2:00 when the team came out, and we'd seen that there was people missing Joe Linton and the others, and the comments that were on Twitter about Murphy playing, Longstaff playing, and they all put in a fantastic shift, and I think that they're worthy of a mention as well. That Willock, I think, played better in that position as well. He was linking perfectly well with Murphy on the wrong side of the pitch as well, from where he normally plays.
Yeah, we couldn't give a man of the match, Steve, to be perfectly honest.
I have to be honest, Steve. If you'd watched the Saturday Live panel, when Murphy's name was mentioned, there was 1 or 2 rather rude words came out of the screen, I've got to say.
Definitely was.
Those words were used on Twitter as well, George.
It was. Tickets again, guys, is another talking point. I've seen the Twitterati going bonkers again. This has been highlighted by Burnsy, Mouth of the Time, for example, who is quite prolific on social media, got his own podcast show as well. The opportunity, I guess, for season ticket holders to buy their own seat, which they can purchase until Sunday, the 9th of October at 5 o'clock. And then season ticket holders can also buy alternative seats and an additional ticket from Monday, the 10th of October at 10 a.m. Maximum of 4 tickets per qualifying supporter. Then it goes on sale to members on Thursday, the 13th of October at 10 o'clock, with a full general sale Tuesday, the 18th of October. Now, I've got to be honest, guys, I don't see anything wrong with this. And I'll tell you why. Because the season ticket holders have paid their money up front. They're in there, and that's the way it is. And they've got an opportunity to go and buy tickets for a League Cup game, which traditionally, even with the takeover, doesn't tend to sell out. League Cup games tend not to sell out. It's a nighttime game. Less parents will bring kids, and it's in November. People are going to be struggling, thinking about Christmas. We've got an energy crisis as well. I mean, look, this is the club making a business decision, and they're never going to be able to please everybody. I appreciate that, but what they do want is they want the team to be supported by as many people as possible, and they're giving the people who've put the money up front, I guess, the opportunity to buy a few more tickets. Now, I think it's right. I don't think there's much scope, for people to complain about that. People are still getting the opportunity to buy tickets for that game. It's not the most attractive of opposition. Crystal Palace, we've already seen them at home this season. They're not the most attractive opposition. There's nothing to say that every season ticket holder will buy 4 tickets either. I'm failing to see why there is an argument about this. I've got to be perfectly honest. But there will always be an argument by those people who can't get the ticket. And I guess, that's where we're at. What's the solution? I really don't know. The same people are the ones who are throwing their arms up in the air about loyalty points and about the fact that somebody may buy a ticket for an away game and then through no fault of their own, let's say a rail strike, suddenly can't go to the game and then have to sell the ticket. And they're saying that they shouldn't be allowed to do that. I just feel as if at the moment, some people are trying to cause problems where there isn't any problems. I've seen some fanzine articles again, which are shrouded in, what can we say, fancy words and letterings, but, they're still pumping the same, anti-Saudi agenda. They're a bit like what can I say, a horseshoe and a silk glove. That's the best way to probably describe it. They're saying one thing, but when they really mean another. And for me, I just think, look, the club's doing really well. Do we really need to be complaining about this and kicking up a fuss on social media? Is it just because you want to be important? And I'm not going to dig at Burnsy here, but what I am saying is that it's the same old faces, the same old people coming up with the same old stuff. And again, there's 2 sides to every story. I can understand people wanting tickets, but George, am I right or am I wrong? Or are you non-committal? I know we've all got opinions on these kind of things, but I just genuinely don't see what the problem is with that.
I'm with you, Steve. Look at the facts of what game it is and our opposition. The best crowd we've had in the League Cup, I think, is about 35,000 thereabouts, and that was a record for the competition at the time. So that means there's at least 15,000 plus seats available for everybody, never mind season ticket holders. So it's not as though there's a shortage of seats for the League Cup match. There's always plenty to go around, in my view. The only thing I'd add is that if the season ticket holder buys these 4 tickets and then goes on to misbehave in some way with those tickets, then they should pay a penalty, and I'm sure the club would react in that way. But I'm with you. It looks like we've got people who are digging deep to cause trouble, as you said, that isn't there. And it's very disappointing at the time when the atmosphere around the town and the city and around the club at the moment is as good as it's been for many, many, many years. I go early and sit at the food bank for an hour or so before going to the match. To sit there and listen to the crowd coming in and that commentary. When he used to go while Ashley was still in tow, it was a moaning shop, and people were walking along moaning, and I've heard nothing of that now, and indeed people rarely get upset about what they think the result's going to be. They just like the occasion. It's become an occasion to go to the match, so why not do the same for this League Cup match and see if we can go forward? I mean, it's not a competition we've earned we're corn in, and that's not just recent years, Steve, you know.
Yeah. It's gone back years. Let's get around
with-
some of the comments and get around everybody else. Some people just like moaning. Steve says, Daz. Tell says, fed up with people moaning about tickets. People walked away. That's their choice. Others like me didn't. Everyone made their own choices. I made mine, and I get all my tickets. Tom made a good point earlier on. Let me just get back to that. As a season ticket holder, of course, we should have the opportunity to buy our own ticket. That's always been the case, and it's standard. Not sure I agree with us being able to buy extra tickets ahead of members. And the extra 4 option is a tad unfair, in Roger's opinion, at the start. Anyway, David says, season ticket holders have always got priority back in the day. So what is wrong with that? Norman says, my ticket is ordered. Bet it's warmer at the park than in my house. And Blue Rhythm Boy says, makes sense that season ticket holders could take their family to a cup game. And Tom says the top 4 or the top 6 will probably be doing the same, charging £20 entry fee, but it doesn't bother me at all. Now, £20 is neither here nor there for a cup game of this proportion. Okay, Mitch, it's always going to be something which generates different sides of the argument. This one, but where do you stand on this again?
I think that the point that season ticket holders have always had a priority historically. Yes, I think it's probably the most valid comment yet. And if you look historically, I think there is a valid question about what differentiates a season ticket holder from a member. Should they be prioritised at a different level because of what they commit to the club up front at the start of the year, etc. So, look, these arguments, Steve and I and yourself have been involved with for thick end of 35 years now, in one way, shape, or form or another. Yeah. And I'm lucky. I've always found a way to have my gobshite opinion. Be that through one of the fanzines I've contributed to, be that through the Journal or the Chronicle. I've always had a way to get my opinion out. The challenge we have these days in social media is everybody can get their opinion out there quick. And so negative opinions seem to travel quicker than positive ones. And that's always seems to be the way as well, because they start that bit of controversy and debate. The club can't win. They've got to find a way to prioritise things. They've got to find a way to sort it out. There'll always be somebody with a nose out of joint, paid off about something. So the club have made that decision. They've made, in my opinion, a relatively fair decision. And anybody also complaining about the price, 20 quid for a cup game these days is actually quite decent value. I remember when the club was charging 20 quid for a friendly in the 1990s. So I think, again, it's just something else to moan about. And I think it's easy to do that these days. It's not everybody's had the grace and favour of having a platform to use, which I always seem to have had somewhere down the line. But that's just the top and bottom of it for me.
Steve, we've been down this road before. I'm sure we'll go down it again. Lots of valid points made in the chat by various people. People like Burnsy, of course, having his say on Twitter as well. Big platform, which, has generated some interesting sound bites on there. What's your view, Steve?
It's interesting what Mitch said there about the platform and being able to get your opinion over. It's also interesting the number of people who seem to change opinions depending on which platform they're on, or depending on what they're drinking or eating that particular day. Because I've seen certain people whose opinions have swayed like the wind. They've swayed like a tree in a storm over the last few months, and probably the last 18 months, and certainly during the takeover, etc. On a number of issues. 1 minute they're for, next minute they're against. It's like they go like that. Put the finger in the air and you go, oh, today I'm against it. Today I'm for it. That's the way that that's the way that their life seems to go. And if that's what they're up to, then fair enough. Let them get on with it. In terms of the ticket, we're never going to get it right. It's always going to be someone who's going to lose out. What this it appears to be done. That was the first time I'd come across it. I've been out all day on business. But what it appears is if you're a season ticket holder, you don't necessarily have to take your own seat. It's giving you an option to buy additional seats somewhere else where, like somebody pointed out there, you can go with your family, you can take your kids, take the grandkids, whoever it happens to be, and they can sit with you. Because if you stayed in your own season ticket seat, then you might not have had the opportunity to. Mitch is dead right. Season ticket holders have always had a priority and always will. In it's a cup game. Let's see how it goes. Most important thing is that we're averaging 52,200 per game. I don't know what the demand is for the real demand for tickets. So that makes it very difficult to then put an argument and say, this is unjust. This is
the
not
mythical waiting list.
Yes. And also the mythical, we could fill this within 80,000 people.
We don't know that.
No, exactly. So the people who are turning up week in, week out are more than likely still going to get a cup ticket if they want to go to the match.
We know people who were applying for those tickets, like the season tickets, for example, 1,000 tickets that were on sale at the start of the season, who were on multiple devices, 6, 7, 8 devices at the same time, trying to get the golden ticket. But so that doesn't get you cannot get an accurate number of how many people are desperate to go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a debate that will carry on and carry on. It's been out there, as Mitch says, for 30 odd years, and it will probably be exactly the same in 30 odd years' time until we end up with an 80,000 seater stadium and 60,000 people rattling around inside it.
Stu, I'm not sure if you saw it because you came on halfway through. What I will add to this while you're reading that is that I tell you what, the option now on the website for buying the tickets for the cup game is fantastic, because as a season ticket holder, I sit with my dad and my brother at the games, and normally there's an absolute nightmare trying to get our tickets. We've never had the option of being able to get our seats, which is where we want to sit, because we want to sit with our friends and the people around us. And ultimately, there's now an option, click to buy your own seats. And for the first time ever, and this is something which should be normal really, but under Ashley, nothing ever was, you could actually highlight the 3 tickets and I could take the responsibility to buy all 3 tickets. Job's a good one. So I bought my dad's and my brother's tickets. We're all sitting together, happy days, in our seats at last. It's taken God knows how long. Well, we've never been able to do that for 14 years. So again, they're getting things right. But we've said before, and I'll say it again, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it can't change everything like that. It's not like Bewitched where the flash a wand and everything changes. It's but there are going to be people unhappy, Stu. There is people unhappy. What's your view?
Well, you have to agree that season ticket owners should get priority. They're the ones that put the money down first, and they get priority. I agree with Tom Lynch, though, for what he said is, why are people members? Why are they paying members with the option to get tickets? So I think it's fantastic that people are able to get their own tickets. But if we play devil's advocate, we could say a season ticket holder get the option to buy an additional 4. Maybe too many. Maybe an additional 1. They maybe want to take a better half, or maybe want to take a child or something. It won't sell out. Well, this one might sell out, but in the past, you have to look at the past to judge your future, haven't you? And it's very rare that they'll sell out unless it's like a FA Cup quarter-final or a semi-final. What you were saying earlier about £20 a ticket, I remember we played, we could be back in 1996 or something, we played Man United in the 5th round of the League Cup, and it was 27 quid then. Yeah. So once you're talking about 20 odd years later, and people are complaining it's 20 quid. Now, the people who are complaining it's 20 quid will never go at the game anyway. So if we're taking on what Mitch said, it's social medias give people a platform to voice negativity. It's like the news. You very rarely see good news. It's always bad news that they come out with. It's the silent majority are kept quiet or decided to opt to stay quiet. But the season tickets get an additional 4, maybe. I think that could be too many. But I think it's a great idea that you get your own seat, because that's why you sit all the time. That's why you're comfortable. It's not just the people like you, Steve, you're sitting with your dad and your brother, but there'll be people who sit around you. You get used to these people as well. But as a season ticket holder, you should get the option, okay, I don't want my seat. I do want to have a look at a different part of the ground, because the whole stadium is not season tickets anyway. So you will have that option to move elsewhere. Well, I hope you would have that option. If you didn't want your own seat, you could have went elsewhere as normal. So there's pros and cons for everything. It's more positive than negative, but there's a happy balance to be found, and they're pretty close to it. It's like when you're talking about I think it was Keith was talking on Friday about his golf swings and stuff like that. You can get everything right
It's just one thing you get wrong, whether it's your knees bending or the way you're gripping the club or where your feet's pointing or you've lifted your head. Everything else can be absolutely perfect, but that one thing puts the ball the wrong way, and people just jump on it. You know, let them get their own. Let the club find their own feet. Remember, it's not only the end of this week. It's 1 year, 1 year, and we're talking about a different animal now. You know, with the club, if it was a dog, would have been put down last year. Now it's going to Crufts, isn't it? And this is the advances that the owners have made. So what we should be looking at, not picking out any fault for the sake of picking out faults. Now, if these people who are complaining, do they go to games anyway? You know, because what you'll find is if I'm sure even with the way the 4 extra tickets are made available, a lot of people have friends who've got season tickets. You know, you should have a friend somewhere if you live in the region who has a season ticket to ask them to get you one. But even after that round of tickets, I'd be very surprised there isn't still some left for the general public. Then they can put the money where their mouth is instead of putting the fingers where the computer is. And we'll see if there's a full ground at the end of the start of kick-off against Palace.
Yeah, woof, 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 woof.
It is interesting. Look, it's always going to cause a lot of debate on here, and some people are just realistic. Some people are agreeing with me. Some people are slightly differential. But look, that's what it's all about. It's about opinions. And I'd like to know, when did the membership scheme start? I've tried Googling it before we came on air, and I couldn't find when the membership scheme started. I've tried, try and find it out on the club website or whatever, but I can't find it. So it might be in some of your minutes, Steve. I know you're quite a collector of old trust minutes. You might find it in there. So let's find out. If anybody can find it, anybody in the chat knows. Anyway, Steve, your take on the whole ticket scenario?
Yeah, well, I think it's the ultimate loyalty reward to give season tickets priority. I think, people who, like me, I've had a season ticket since the 70s when the East Stand was first built, and gone every year through thick and thin and thin and thin. And I think, the other loyalty schemes rewarding away fans has been a contentious issue, which we've discussed many times as well. But as far as home games go, I think this is a chance to give a reward to the loyal season tickets who have been around a long time. However long we'll come up with that membership, I think it's 4 or 5 years, possibly, maybe even more. The COVID years, you sort of miss out and forget about how long things are in the past. But it is relatively recent. So I think giving season tickets holders a priority and a chance to take friends or relatives as well along and be part of what they've experienced is a good thing. I'm a bit unsure about the 4. I mean, maybe 2 might have been a better number, but I'm pretty sure we'll fill the ground. It is a time. If we can win that game, it's not the last game before the World Cup because we've got Chelsea on the weekend after that. But it's a chance to continue the momentum, which hope will continue up till that point, and see the lads off before we have the break. So I'm pretty sure that we'll go into that game with a full house, however the tickets are sold.
And Al-Walid, living in Saudi Arabia, you just want to make sure that when you're next door at Newcastle, somebody sends you a ticket or you get a ticket. I think that's your priority.
Actually, I try to understand that. I think I don't understand it very well. It's a brilliant idea, but I have a question regarding if I have a season ticket and I want to go with my friend and I want him to next to me. So how does that work? If priority to buy your seat?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult is the honest answer to that, Al-Walid, because ultimately you would need to have a season ticket to be able to sit next to you in a league game. If you didn't have a season ticket next to you, then that would be nigh on impossible. But the cup game, depending on availability, there might be an option of being able to get 2 seats together. But that's what a lot of people are complaining about at this moment in time. And that's, as I say, you can't keep everybody happy within the fan base. And when you've only got a 52,000 seater stadium and, people are wanting, people want to come.
So if I go with my friend in the cup game, I buy the ticket. If I am a season ticket.
Yeah.
If I want to go with my friend, I should take, if I see if my seat have available seat next to it, or I change my seat and find another 2 together.
By the phone, you go and sit somewhere else.
Yeah, so this is totally makes sense. I don't know what's the best solution from that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Halfway through the program, we normally ask George, but there's plenty of questions come in, George. I do want to bring in a guest to have a quick chat. Matty Patterson, good evening.
Oh, hi,
Hi,
Matty.
Steve. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Great to see you, mate. Welcome on. And before we do the ads, I just wanted to get you on and have a quick chat about your business, because you've been kind enough to sponsor us last month and now this month. Been one of our sponsors. Tell us what the business is called and what you're up to, Matt.
So yeah, it's 3 properties, Steve. And basically we're a sourcing company. So we source properties for investors up and down the country who are looking to invest in property in the northeast of England. It's been really good up to now. We're looking to sort of investors that that haven't maybe got the time, and they're looking for some expertise in that area. So we help them out. We try and find the properties for them. We sort of hold their hand through the full process up to completion, and then manage the properties for them there, for the foreseeable future. Or somebody who's just new in the game and is looking for some advice and looking where to start. We're there to help them and sort of guide them through the process. So it's been very busy over the last couple of months and thoroughly enjoying it.
Good stuff, mate. Are you still involved in football, Matty?
Yeah, I still coach as well, Steve. So, I've got quite a few things going on at the moment. Currently at I2I Sports Academy as well. Doing the coaching there, obviously working towards my A license. So, got a few fingers in a few different pies.
That sounds good. Could see you back in Newcastle United one day. I bet that would be the dream.
Well, you never know. I'd never say never. Obviously it's some great things happening within the club at the moment, and that's only going to go from strength to strength. So certainly something maybe to look at in the future. Obviously, club that's close to my heart. So why not?
Yeah, why not? Indeed. And obviously, just give us a quick shout out for the company again. Where can people hook up with you, Matty? Where can people find you? We'll do a shout out on the adverts as well, but just give people a shout where they can find you.
Yeah, so Instagram's our main place, Steve. So Matty.Patter Northeast Property. That's where to find me, and Phil.Reed at Northeast Property as well. That's our main channel. So if you want to check us out on there, please give us a follow and have a look at some of our content.
Great stuff, Matty. Great to have you on, mate. We'll get you back on to have a chat about Newcastle United when you've got a bit more time. But Matty Patterson, thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, Steve, mate. Thanks a lot. See you guys.
Cheers,
Cheers, mate.
Great to have Matty on. And yes, let's get over to Wednesday night's favourite part of the show, because it means everybody else can sit back and say out. Sorry, George, I've really stirred a hornet's nest up. I don't know whether you've seen any of these questions.
No, I haven't.
Okay, Gary Milliken. We'll start off with the sensible ones. Can you ask George what is the best sporting moment he has ever seen? The best goal, the best boxing match, or the best try? It can be any sport, George. What is the best sporting moment you have seen?
For excitement, it's none of those. It's Formula One, and it was when Nigel Mansell won the World Championship, and Neil and I were there to witness it at Brands Hatch. Remember, Neil?
Yeah.
He went on for years about why can't we go to a Formula One live, and I said, what the hell for? We can watch it on the telly. Well, I'm really glad I took the boat out. We went a few times to watch it. And to anybody that's hesitated, go. It's a fantastic weekend. And as I say, the absolute thrill of watching Nigel Mansell beat Emerson, what's his name, the Brazilian.
It was Piquet. Nelson Piquet.
Yeah, Nelson Piquet to the World Championship was absolutely fantastic. But I couldn't believe the noise, for example, to start with. And it was just incredible. And typical me, I had a mini television at the time, and we took it with for the weekend, so we'd have the telly. And when the cars were out of sight on one particular corner, I were watching it on the mini television, and we suddenly turned around, and there was about 20,000 people behind us watching this tiny little television. So that's the great one. I would love to have it been football, but I have to say it was the Formula One.
Okay, Michael West says, are you going out on Friday night to the takeover anniversary party? He says, because if you are, I'll get you a pint, was the second part of that.
Well, the answer is I hope to be there, yes, because my circumstances are such I can actually get out at night a little bit. And as for the pint, well, clearly you don't realise I'm teetotal, so I'll have a tonic from you, and that'll be great. Thank you very much.
Tom Dixon, one of our regulars, he says, question for George, what was the best goal that you have seen at a football match?
Best goal I've seen at a football match? Well, that one on Sunday was pretty good. I've got to say it I think it goes back to it's a Peter Beardsley. I'm trying to think which game it was, when he picked up the ball on the halfway line and just dribbled through the whole of the opposition.
Man City away, was it?
I think it was, yes. Yeah.
In the mud.
Took everybody out of the game and just slotted it into the bottom corner. That's as good as I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. James says, ask George what's the craziest thing Mitch has ever done.
Oh, God.
I'm glad he's asking George.
Well, crazy or not. Just to let you see that he has a mind of his own. I've talked about Formula One. Well, I was chairman of the governors at the high school he went to, and when we were away at Formula One, I bought him the jacket for the red jacket for the cigarettes. Neil, what was it?
It was a McLaren jacket. It was Marlboro written all over it.
Marlboro written all over it. And the school had a very strict uniform policy, so there was no way could he wear that at school, except that I noticed the jacket was missing, and he was home early from school because he took it to school and put it on and got sent home. So
naughty, Mitch.
Aye.
Okay, Mark Byers wants to know this
guy.
one. He says you've mentioned serial killers on Friday's show, Steve. So I'm currently watching the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix. He says, can you ask George if he ever dissected roadkill with a young
Hopefully not with the same outcome.
No, but we've done all sorts of weird things together, and but that's not one.
That wasn't one of them. Last two, I'll give you the daft one first. Blue Rhythm Boy says, can you ask George, would you rather eat chocolate coloured flavoured poo or poo flavoured chocolate?
Oh, God.
I think the answer to that's neither.
Yeah, neither. That's right. Yeah.
I thought so. Mr. Anderson, bringing it back to normality, says, hi, George. Question on the modern goalkeeper and the ones in your day. Do you see the difference as how long they take now when they have the ball in their hands? And what is the 6-second rule myth?
Well, it is a myth now. It's a hot potato for me, as you've heard me describing the yesterday's programs we do. Goalkeepers today, in my opinion, are also overprotected. They should be allowed to be put under more pressure than they are. For example, if you want, there's some good analysis of how much time goalkeepers waste these days. And the last time we survived relegation, Bruce and Darlow was in goal for us most of the season. He was the worst in the Premiership that year. He wasted an average of 17 and a half minutes out of 90 per game. But he kept to keep up because the ball wasn't in play and we couldn't get hammered. But that's the sort of thing that riles me. That, yes, I don't want goalkeepers to be knocked about, but I think they're a bit overprotected now and get away with murder in terms. I mean, this thing that Pickford started, and they're all doing it now, is catching the ball and then lying on it for about 30 or 40 seconds before they get up and kick it out. That really is a nonsense, and the ref should have something to say about that, but I don't think they will. Yeah, I think they're overprotective.
Last one, he says, from Gary Milligan, he says, what was young Mitch like when he was on the drink as a youngster? Did he used to pee in the wardrobe?
Oh, that's unfair. Not to my knowledge is all I'm going to say.
Not to his knowledge. There you are, Gary. You got your answer.
I can tell you what we did do once. We did pee in Darren Jones's bin, and then
Yeah.
we woke up the next morning and found it was wicker.
Yeah.
Oh, dear me. Okay, we've taken it to new levels on Ask George, but we'll have that again next week.
The Darren Jones is an interesting one because he was Neil's friend from kindergarten and before, and Neil was an early reader. My father used to teach him to read. He could read the back of the newspaper from he was about 2.5 to 3 years of age. So obviously, occasionally when my mother used to take him out, she'd go for the bus. They'd be in the bus shelter, and he would be standing reading all the stuff on the wall, all the graffiti. And one morning, my mother said to me, she was so embarrassed. I was in the bus shelter, and Neil came to me and said, "What does it mean, Grandma? Darren Jones is a puff." And she, poor soul, didn't know what to say. Oh, she invented all sorts of strange stories about puffy biscuits and all sorts of things. But
what you do as a grandparent and a parent to cover up kids' indiscretions. But that's great. That's all from Ask George for this week. Okay, 15 minutes left. Still a little bit to cram in. We'll go with this one, which will probably finish the show on. Al-Walid, I'm going to come to you. BT says, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, PIF, said that we bought Newcastle for £305 million and have the potential to go from 305 million to at least 2.5 billion. Could this be achieved within 5 to 10 years is BT's question. And Richie just simply says, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on our chairman's recent interview. So, Ben Jacobs on this show has been for the last couple of months, certainly, saying, I want to hear from PIF. I want to hear from PIF. Well, we have finally heard from our chairman, and it was a very interesting interview, Al-Walid, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was the message before, it was 3.5 at least, not 2.5, 3.5 billion. Really, we were waiting along for this interview, and it was about a whole aspect of investment, but Newcastle was part of it, and it was. I've been contacted by many journalists, and they, one of the just discussion, they are supporting another teams in England. They ask me, why Newcastle? Why PIF interested in Newcastle? So that was the answer from His Excellency Mr. Yasser Al-Rumayyan. He speak exactly why Newcastle. He speak about there was no talk about the history of the club or the passion. He focused on investment. The answer was about investment, and this is what really all the need you need. You mentioned earlier some fanzine stuff. I think they just want more views, nothing else. So this is actually all positive points he been made. I think he answered everything a Newcastle fan needs to know. I wish if this interviews. I'm happy always to see interviews by management of Newcastle or Amanda, Merdad, Jimmy Robin. I always Majid Al-Sarur. Always I want to know. I wish this happen on some maybe month basis. But for 1 year, I think I love the details. The offers. There was offers about the other clubs, and Newcastle was the best offer for the investment and the best league in the world. So this is really nice. I enjoyed it, and I think everybody is.
Steve, it was nice to finally hear from our chairman.
Yeah, I think it's a similar statement that John Hall used to make in the 90s when he used to say that the aim was top 3 in the UK or top 3 in England and the top 10 in Europe. And we went a million miles away for that for a few years, and I think we probably know where the wheel fell off. Keegan left, they went PLC, so there was there was a business decision made at the time, which may or may not be the right decision. But I think Keegan leaving made an impact on that. And I think things happened very quickly then. And I think it's a similar sort of statement that's being made now, is that the sky's the limit on what we can do and what we can achieve. And we've talked over many weeks on this show and on the others about the money that's coming into the game, whether we'll get some form of ESL, I don't know. I would prefer to leave it as it is. But I can see a lot more money coming into the game in the next 5 to 10 years, for the top clubs. And our aim is to be one of them, and therefore the rewards and the ultimate value to be a club that has that sort of value. If somebody wants to buy us, you're going to have to play top dollar. So, it's very encouraging that is in the game plan, and and clearly not what Ashley was all about, which was just to support his business, and it was an advertising agent.
Stu, your take on the interview?
If you just excuse me 1 second, I'm going to pick up this geek bacon. Heavy boxer. We've been seeing this for 2 years. There we go. That was heavy. Pre-takeover, since the takeover, myself, Mitch, and Steve Hasty have said practically on a weekly basis that the now owners seen Newcastle, they've seen the potential. They are businessmen. They will see this purely as a business investment. And I think I mentioned it last week. What do you think the club's worth now after only 1 year? Yeah. If it's not $1 billion, it'll be close to it. And it's only going one way. And they understand that you have to spend money, make money. The previous owner didn't see that potential or didn't want to see that potential and gave excuses. But the investment will come, but they'll take the money out. But they're not, they're not, as I said, they're not like when you're talking about magic wands and stuff like that. They're not fairy godmothers where they just want to be very nice to everyone who supports Newcastle. They're doing it for many reasons, but the primary reason is to make money. And if you look at it was Tottenham, wasn't it, that wanted 3 billion or 3.5 billion. You're telling me that Tottenham are 10 times the size of Newcastle? That simple mathematics tells you that there's no way that was a viable opportunity for them. Because I'm sure I know I've said this. If they were to buy Man United for 4 billion, where can they grow? Where's the growth in that? How can Man United get bigger than what they are on a worldwide fan base to generate more money? So at their best, they could squeak an extra $1 billion out of that. If they invest $1 billion into us, they'll double the money. And we're in business, as Arthur Daly used to say, you don't get interest like that at the Bradford and Bingley. You put your money down, you make the right moves, and you take the right money out, and they'll leave the club sustainable. They'll leave the club profitable. When I say leave the club, I don't mean they'll leave it, but they'll generate the money, and they'll deserve it because they're the ones that are taking all the risk by investing us in the first place. They're the ones that are putting the money in for the transfers. These are the people who will be developing or building a new stadium or the infrastructure in the northeast. And if any business does that, they deserve to get credit. It's just like someone who starts a shop corner and ends up being a supermarket. You've got to say fair play to them, but you've got to have the money in the first place, the vision, and most importantly, the cojones to do it. So, yes, we have been telling you so, and it's great that they chose us. We were underpriced, but that's because we weren't run well for a long time. So, in a long roundabout way, it's a blessing in disguise the way Ashley treated us. So we can now be grateful and not be bitter about the past and be really positive about a hugely bright future for us.
Yeah, I would agree. Steve, your take on the interview?
You want the box, Steve?
Thank you. Got it. Why did PIF invest in Newcastle United? Everyone on the top row knows. Because Amanda Staveley and my dad sold them the dream. They sold them our dream that we had at Newcastle United, and they bought into it. PIF had the intelligence and the nous to see what was available, what was being offered, and it was not only our dream, but it was a smart investment, and that's what makes them smart cookies. The statement, great to hear Mr. Al-Ramayan talking about Newcastle, but I think from a supporter point of view, we're just happy for this to just roll forward. Not actually worried that about Tottenham or Man United, and it's nice to hear. It's good little sort of sideshow, if you like. But the fact is, they bought Newcastle United. That's the end of it for me. They were sold the dream. They had the nous to realise that dream was there, and that's what I'll never forget. We knew that, but I'll never forget that. And that's what we're now moving on. And they are now part of the dream. They are now, it's now their dream as well. Where we're heading is now their dream. And yes, they're a big organisation, but it's they're on the roller coaster with me, and that's what's good. I'd rather be on the roller coaster with them than look and thinking they were on somebody else's roller coaster ride.
Yeah, but Steve, in the grand scheme of things, we're a very small drop of ocean for the wealth that they've got.
Absolutely.
So it's incredible that they can throw extra money at us, but they'll do it in the right way. Yeah. Because they could just go down the Man City PSG route and say, we'll pay the fines, but they don't want any adverse publicity. They're building up. Everything is geared for 2030 in Saudi Arabia. It's Vision 2030. It's all geared for that, and they'll do it the right way. They'll be humble, and they'll get more credit from doing it. It's just like Ben Johnson won the 100 meters in the Olympics. He cheated. Does he get the same satisfaction as the person who actually did win it by doing it clean? And that's the mythology behind it.
Yeah, and the phrase that we always used when we were talking about this was that they weren't going to do anything through the back door. They were coming through the front door. And when they come through the front door, that means that everything is done right. There's no sneaking around the back. They're doing it absolutely spot on. That's the way that they want to be seen to be doing it. They want to be seen to be doing it right. And you know what? Like I say, you can listen to the chairman talk, and it's great, brilliant. But he's put a management team in. He's put Eels in. They've put Dan Ashworth in. They've got Amanda and Mirdad there. They've got Jamie overseeing it. They've got Mr. Al Sajur there. These people are not fools. These people are there. And yes, they'll be getting direction, but they'll be giving direction as well. We're all now in this amazing journey of taking the football club forward, whether it takes 2, 3, 5 years. And this is where the players have their piece as well. That they're the important cog. And I think I heard a little snippet earlier in the week when they talked about the players. And a lot of the players thought that the day the takeover happened, that was it. They were out, and they were asked, "Why do you think that? Why do you not think you're on the journey with us?" And they went, and it was like a great big cog in the back of their head that went, "Oh!" And from that moment onwards, the players. If you think back to the time when all of a sudden we started playing well, after they'd been to Saudi Arabia, after they'd had the relaxing time on that mid-season break, and they came back completely refreshed. They came back a totally different team. The performances changed after that cup game, if you remember, and all of that was part of that period that they had together, where everybody came in and everybody was able to suddenly sit and chat and understand what the journey was going to be, and that if you played your part, you were on the journey with them, and that's great. That's that. These are facts that probably haven't sunk into some fans, and quite rightly, because they're not aware or they don't need to worry about it, because at the end of the day, we're now getting the fruits of that from those players within the squad.
Mitch,
in a sentence, like I said before, at that moment in time, Newcastle United were the best value proposition in top flight of football anywhere in Europe. Simple as that. Tick all the boxes for exactly the kind of investment that PIF wanted to make, that they could have control of and not partial control, and not have anybody to fight with over it. And they bought into the idea and bought into the dream. And that's how the pieces came together. And I just want to take this very slightly sideways to defend and thank my friend Al Walid for the work he did with that interview, getting it translated out into the tweets. I want to tell him to ignore the stick and ignore the haters, ignore the people that say, "Oh, these tweets were written by a 5-year-old. Yeah, right. Well, how's your Arabic doing, mate? I want him to ignore the people who criticise him for being a former Man United fan. Well, where do these people think our fans in the Gulf are going to appear from? Have they been hiding in the desert, drinking their own wee for the last 40 years, waiting for that moment to arise? or they're going to migrate away from other clubs as they buy into the dream that's been sold to PIF and been sold around the region. That's exactly how it's going to happen, and we need to embrace that, and we need to learn how to embrace that with the grace that we have that welcomes people to our city and our ground with open arms. It really irritates us to see somebody doing their best to get the message across. He did what no other Newcastle fan could do in translating that interview as quickly as he could.
Thank you, Dr. Neil. But actually, I was working with while translated, so that's why it was very hard.
Of course, and like I say, if I tried to do some Arabic ones for you, you'd have a good giggle at the crap that I came out with, I'm sure. So it's everybody needs to just be a bit more gracious and be a bit more united. I think Mark Douglas getting that out was really good as well. I've got a good relationship with Mark, there's no doubt about that. And vicariously, even I got a little bit of stick for being brought into the Chronicle fold by Mark. I was writing bits for the Chronicle before the person that said that was born. So thanks, Al Walid. Keep up the good work, mate. And everything else that the lads have said, I can just go back 100%.
Well said, Mitch, says Mr. Anderson, and I concur. George, finishing off on this?
Well, there's so much good come out this week from the chairman, from former players. I mean, the piece by Ferdinand is not Ferdinand, the former defender who just left with. Fernandez is incredible for a former player. I've not heard such praise for the club, for the manager, for the owners from a former player. Can I just go back to the money debate, though? There's a slight difference for us. Whatever we've spent, PIF can cover. Can anybody at Spurs cover the £1 billion they're debt in? Because my worry for them and one or two others of the so-called Big Six is that somebody will upset one of their big sponsors, one of the big banks possibly, and the whole lot could come tumbling down overnight. You've seen what happened to the banks just a couple of weeks ago over something else. Well, it could happen to that as well. And I know in the business I've been in for years to connect it to shipping, I had a Greek ship owning friend who had cruise liners all over the world. And he fell out with one of the French suppliers who pushed the French banks to call in all his loans. And he was left with dozens of ships all over the world with no supplies, no coaches, no money. I mean, they just had to go out and use their own personal finance to rescue it. And that's how it comes tumbling down if they get it wrong. So the difference for me is that us, and I think for Manchester City, is we can cover what we're doing. The others can't. Now, at the moment, in my opinion, and I think Spurs, it's up to $1 billion in debt now. So that can't go on forever. So all they're going to bring into the picture, all Manchester United's going to bring into the picture, all Arsenal going to bring into the picture is more debt, not more money.
Okay, great stuff. Great debate, as always, on the show. Vince says, I had a dream, black and white on the trophy. That dream will come true as we all march together. And Kamal says, Arabic is extremely difficult, even for Arabs. Trust me, I know. Tom, thanks very much. He says, great show tonight, lads. Take care, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the show. Yeah, hit the like button on your way out, people. That would be great. And Rachel, thanks as always to our moderators. Everyone was in tonight. I think great show, Steve, and the panel. Fantastic contribution from the chat. It was brilliant conversation, and that's what it's all about. And I wouldn't be doing Mouth of the Time justice if I didn't read this out. He says, there seems to be some confusion of what the issue is about. The issue isn't about season ticket holders getting priority on their own seat or even an extra seat. It's the fact that they are allowed 4 extra seats. And he says, and make that 4 extra seats before members get to feed off the scraps. The process would work perfectly for Premier League games at the minute, with both season ticket holders and members getting ticket access at the same time, which is a point, to be fair, that Mitch made. It was a balanced conversation, and the conversation continues tomorrow night at 6:30 till 7:30 with me, Supermac, and Gibbo. Friday night, slightly earlier, 3 Amigos, 4 till 6, because we're at the takeover anniversary party. Yep. Saturday will be George Mitchell, 11 o'clock. You'll hear those were the days. And then
I thought we're doing Friday, Steve.
Yeah, I'm recording it with you on Friday, George. I'm
All
putting
right.
it out
Oh,
on
sorry,
Saturday.
sorry.
And then on Sunday at 9 a.m., me, Mitch, and Stu will be back together, looking back at the game against Brentford with the professional show. I'm going to play out with the ads, but for now, it's thanks to all the lads. Take care. See you soon.
Yeah.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
everyone.
Everybody.
A big thanks to our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, based on Old Durham Road in Gateshead. Their phone number is 0191 478 2730. You can email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk or go to the website darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists based on Nunn Street. The GOHD.com is their website. And thanks again to 3 Property Investments, who specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the North East. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give them a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@3property.co.uk if you're interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks to the lads at Mr. Vicky's Handmade in Cumbria. These are hot sauces, and you can find them at mrvickys.co.uk or place an order by ringing 01768 210 102. Thanks also to the lads at Blowhole Brewery, a fine amount of ales available from their website, www.blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video technology. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe, hit the badge in the corner, and you can subscribe for free. Still do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and the rest. And if you want to become a member, click join underneath this video, or you can put your smartphone over the QR code. It will take you to the membership section of the website. If you choose to go that way, then you will get a pen, a cup, a scarf and a membership card and entry into the monthly draw for a one-off payment of £25. We also give you something for free. If you want a car window sticker, email john@nufcmatters.com and he will send you one if you are a subscriber. We also help the food bank on here. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is the match day bucket. If you go there, you can make a virtual donation at any time of the year. And don't forget, Peter Beardsley Soccer School, October half term, Monday the 24th to Friday the 28th of October. You can book now, peterbeirdsley.soccerschool.com. Peter's also running Monday night training on the 26th of October. Again, the same website. And if you want to meet Peter Beardsley, well, you've got 3 chances. Newcastle Legends game, Friday, October the 14th. The Peter Beardsley talk-in is taking place after the game. Tickets for this are available from NUFCmatters.com. Adult admission is £5, junior admission is £2. The talk-in is adults only, and that is a £10. And the events are all taking place at the Fox Hunters Pavilion in North Shields. We've got Peter Beardsley available, tickets available for the St Dom's Catholic Club show. You need to go straight to their website and you just buy your tickets there. And for this one at the Irish Centre, tickets are available now on NUFCmatters.com. Don't forget, Supermax at the Dog and Parrot, every pre-match and every post-match, every home game. And John Gibson and John Anderson are at Pumphrey's pre-match only. If you did like our true crime stuff, it has all migrated to the True Crime channel. So get yourself across there on YouTube and subscribe today.